Last time I talked about going in the darkness and being still. I made reference to T.S. Eliot's poetry, poem, or a series of poems that he wrote called, I think it was called it was either called Four Quarters or Four Quartets. I think it was Four Quartets. And talking, basically, I didn't use I didn't use the word centering, but basically that's what I was talking about. Is centering yourself, and we have to center ourselves in silence and stillness and love. Right. I said before that I had no fear because my anger kind of built like a armor around me. I used anger, and I actually, still, I'm not because I want to, but because I'm just going to admit, the truth about myself. I mean, I carry a certain amount of anger. Anger's not a bad thing. It's how you utilize anger. A lot of times, anger can drive people to do things that'll get them in trouble, but you don't have to use anger to do bad things. You can use anger, it's just an emotion. It's kind of a hard thing to figure out, just like love is a hard thing to figure out, at least for me. I mean, I kind of know, on an intellectual level and on a deeper level, a personal level and an emotional level, what love is and what anger is. But, they're emotions, and but the emotion of love is what is the most powerful emotion. And, for example, I mean, nothing works as hard as love. Anger don't work as hard as love. Fear don't work as hard as love. And nothing works as hard as love. And but I want to more elaborate on centering right now, because you're a human being with higher faculty than an animal, for example. And we can look at animals and we can know that animals are I mean, in my opinion, I mean, they're pretty much centered. I mean, for an animal, I mean, humans have, a different kind of a centering, and, your resonance is going to solidify through centering. And from what I understand, the thing that you are really going to carry into the afterlife, is not how much money you made, or how many people like you, or I don't know, whatever might be of any kind of value in this lifetime in your world. I mean, you know, it's all going to be stripped away, and the thing that's going to be left, you know, is your resonance, you know, your vibe, and you are you are the music. you are the music. And what you carry into the afterlife is going to be your resonance. And your resonance is made, you know, through whatever your lifetime turns out to be. I mean, you know, the crown of your life is going to be your resonance. It ain't going to be, you know, all the things that you achieve. The process you go through of achievement, you know, I mean, that'll, you know, your work is gonna, you know, make your resonance, you know, it's gonna mold you inside. Your attention, what you give attention to, you know, your expression, how you express what's inside. It's all going to create your resonance. And, you know, a couple times ago I was talking about, you know, your home, your room, set, you know, puts forth like a vibe, you know, your spirit. And, you know, I mean, you know, like me, you know, I got to tune my guitar, you know, get the strings so they, you know, play the right note, you know, resonance. And you know, so you know, I say home is where the heart is. And you know, so that's a telling statement right there. Home is where the heart is. That's what I was saying. When you invite somebody to your home, and then you know, and then you go into a deeper layer, you know, if you're a friend or something, you know, you take them into your room. Well, you know, your room is, well, it's a center. You know, your home is backdrop for your room. And but people understand, you know, where your heart is, you know, kind of that way. What we do physically, you know, reflects our spirit. And you know, our resonance, our tone, our vibration. Should have queued it up, you know. But I like, I always liked this song by a band called Reef. I think it's called Higher Vibration. You know, ever since I heard, I mean, of course I heard it a long time ago, like when it came out, you know. And now I actually bought the CD. I used to listen to it when my kids were little. And higher vibration, you know. Yeah. I don't know, just the concept, you know. Higher vibration, you know. It's kind of like what we should strive for. Like, you know, I started out talking about, like, you know, anger being kind of what made me not afraid, you know, but actually love it would make you not afraid, you know. And that's, you know, better than anger. The Bible says that love casts out fear. I don't remember where that was written, but it's in there somewhere. And in the I don't remember what actual martial art kind of thing this came from, but I think Joseph Campbell. I think I might have heard him telling a story a long time ago. I think it might have been where it came from, in my recollection. But about this this samurai sword fighter, a sword fighter, because that's what they used. You know, they didn't have machine guns or anything, but everybody, used a sword to fight. And so, a story about this one, trained martial artist, samurai fighter, whatever. He was fighting his opponent, and most of the time, they kill the opponent or whatever. Somebody's gonna die, but he drew back from pushing the sword in, killing the person, and yeah, I'm just gonna say, somebody asked him like why or something like the question why, came up or something. But I mean, why? Here's the question: why didn't you kill him? And he said because he would have killed them out of anger. And so in that training, the centering process, it is you can't fight out of anger. And if you kill somebody out of anger, then that's like that's a bad thing. You don't want to kill anybody out of anger. So that was that story. He didn't kill a person because if he would have killed them, he would have killed them out of anger. And well, so that's a centering. That's a centering. You have to center your internal emotions and your mindset. And a lot of people center themselves, through meditation and prayer. And well, I refer to T.S. Eliot because, listening to his poetry recently, and he said the reason that we're here is not for this or not for that. The reason we're here is to pray. That might be like an unheard of concept. A lot of people say, well, you're not here to pray. You're here to learn a job. You're here to make some money. You're here to, find a woman. You're here to make a family. Whatever, whatever you think you might here for. You're here to, please somebody or fight or whatever. For love. Well, you might be here to love, but you might be here to fight. You might be here to make some money. You might be here to do all these things, but at the highest level, you're here to pray. You're here to center yourself. You're here to develop your internal being. You're here to tune the strings of your heart, to resonate with a higher vibration. Sometimes you go home and you can find your centering. A lot of people, like I said, say, home is where the heart is. A lot of people like to go home, like especially after they get older and stuff. Their parents still live in the same house, and their room is still there or something. They like to go home, and because home is where the heart is. I was thinking about my dog Saki. My dogs got out one time, and well, my next door neighbor, he backed his truck up to my fence, pushed the fence out from underneath the ground. Part of the fence went under the ground. I pushed it out of the ground, and one time my dog, and he had a dog. You know, he's dead now, but his family is still there. But they got out, and he was actually dead at this time. But he died of lung cancer. But the thing is, man, you know, he's fine until like 1 month. He went to the doctor, and the next month he was dead. Well, I mean, just saying, that's how life can be, you know, ripped out from you. Your carpet can be pulled out from under your feet. Your life can be torn apart. Well, what are you going to be left with? You're going to be left with your residence, you know, when you die. And how well you tune the strings of your guitar of your heart, or whatever, you know. But anyway, Saki, well, my dogs aren't there. You know, a bunch of them went over. The boys that live there, I mean, they're adults and everything. They got guns. Started shooting at my dogs, and you know, I hopped the fence. I mean, no, I didn't hop the fence. I ran around, went through their gate, trying to recover my dogs before they all got shot. And you know, well, Saki, you know, she was panting real hard and everything, and well, after that episode, which I felt like almost gave me a heart attack. I mean, I could hardly catch my breath. His heart was pounding so hard, you know. I mean, you know, how would you feel, you know, in the midst of gunfire, trying to rescue your dogs? And well, a couple hours later, you know, she died. Yeah, that's what happened to Saki. I took her to the vet, you know. I took her dead body to the vet. Said I wanted to know what happened to her. So I guess her stomach on the inside twisted, you know. She got bloat, and then, you know, she started losing her oxygen and fell over and died after that episode. Yeah, stress will kill you. Yeah. But anyway, the story about Saki is she got out, and well, you know, I got out one time, you know. Not like I haven't gotten out before, but you know, she got lost. I spent 6 weeks looking for her. Put signs out everywhere, you know, and you know, sometimes they say, you know, like a dog can find its way home. Well, she was only a couple of miles. Well, not even a couple of miles. I mean, she was in a cow pasture not more than a mile from me, actually. When I found her, I put a sign up at in a vet in Crystal Springs. You know, I'm living in Zephyr Hills, and put it out there in a vet's office, you know, a sign, you know, lost dog. And then the lady who takes care of the horses seen her out there and we're looking, and then the lady looking at what the horses are aware of, and a dog out there, and she called me up and said, I think your dog might be out here. And I went out there the first time. I couldn't get her. She didn't know me. And then I went out there again. I remember I got prepared myself a little better. I don't remember. I brought some food or something, you know. She didn't know me. She was still 6 weeks. I mean, out there in a horse pasture or a cow pasture, you know, living for 6 weeks. She lost 35 pounds, and you know, finally she recognized me. Finally she remembered me, but she didn't know her way home. And she wasn't that far away. It wasn't like, you know, she couldn't like smell her way home or something, you know. No, dogs can get lost. People can get lost too. And sometimes it's hard to find our way home. Some people, you know, have their homes they're refugees. I remember it really touched me, when a guy from Syria is killing his people and stuff. Aleppo, people lost their homes. They lost part of their families, and a few survivors in some cases. Some people suffered it real bad. They lost their homes. They had no home to go back to. And how do you center yourself after a horrific life experience like that? The guy, Frankel something, he was a survivor, became a psychiatrist, psychologist, psychiatrist, psychotherapist, whatever. Became popular. His name was Frankel something, but he was a survivor from the Holocaust, and he wrote a lot on the meaning of life and how purpose gives our life meaning. And sometimes you can center yourself in your purpose, in your mission. And even that, you always got to go deeper into the dark places of your heart, of your soul. And dark is not bad. I'm not talking about dark like being bad. It's not bad. It's scary. Kids are always afraid of the dark. I used to use the word scared of the dark. When I was a kid, I always said scared. And my dad would correct me and say it's not a word. Afraid is the word. It's either afraid or scared, but not scared. Well, we will make our meaning. We will make our words growing up, we will. And, you might have to modify your labels and stuff like that, but the things that are inside are always what they are. And it don't matter what kind of label or word you use, it is what it is. They are what they are. You can describe them in different ways. Some things are too deep for description. It's ineffable. Words can't really do justice to the feelings that we feel and stuff like that. Things that we go through. Can't put them into words sometimes. A lot of people that serve in war, they don't really want to talk about it. For one thing, experience is too deep for words. And for another thing, it's not a really place that they want to revisit in their mind. But remember, retrieving Saki, and I've been through a lot of experiences with my dogs. Like I said, I used to have 21 dogs. Now I'm down to 7. Every time I lose one, it hurts. I used to think, I even had more dogs, and I still think now, it's what it's going to be like to lose all my beloved babies. Sometimes I think that, I ain't going to die until my dogs are dead. I'm not going to get any more dogs. The pain would be too much for me to bear. Wouldn't want to, when I pushed the knife into my neck, I was gone for more than a month, and Charlie was here, and I love Charlie more than anybody in life. And he got sick, and he only lived. I kind of think he got poisoned when I was gone, but he died, and it's hard to bear. Hard to bear when you really love somebody and they die. And I wouldn't want to ever leave my dogs again. You know, that was forced on me. That whole situation was forced on me. Yeah. A very cruel experience. It drove me to almost my own death. But you know, we have to come out of our trauma and recenter ourselves and center our emotions, and that falls right hand in glove with grounding, like I was talking earlier. You know, being grounded. You know, now I'm talking about being centered. And again, you know, these are words that kind of depict the inner state. And I'm just saying that you know, you ground yourself, you center yourself, and then you establish your resonance, you know, your vibration. So, you know, higher vibration. like Reef saying, you know, higher vibration. And so that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. So, all right, bye.